Obviously the Mykonos, I got photographed, in the airport. You know that I would never want to do or anything on purpose that would hurt you or the kids. I really am sorry for, hurting you.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, season 14, episode 15. And before we get into it, let me start off by saying, I don't know about you guys, but I enjoyed this episode. I saw some chatter on Twitter. A lot of y'all felt like it was a filler episode, but as for me, I didn't feel that way. I was thoroughly entertained between Kyle and Mauricio having their face-to-face, PK and Dorit. There was a lot going on. Then we have Sutton at the end admitting that she craves Kyle's validation and friendship. To me, this episode was chef's kiss. But I do have to say, I'm surprised that we're going on a cast trip so late, because usually the cast trip happens around episode 13, 14, and we're getting a cast trip episode 15. So I'm guessing that the finale is going to be around episode 19 or 20, and then we have the reunion. Now, a quick side note. The girls are saying that the reunion was real spicy with Kyle, that Kyle allegedly walked off the set twice because the girls got on her about Mauricio's cheating, allegedly. If that's the real tea, then please know that I will be seated with some champagne and snacks in hand, because I want to see that. But y'all, I have a lot to say about the episode, so without further ado, let's just get right on into it, because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. So we open up the episode with Erika at home, and we see Dorit come over. And mind you, this is Dorit's first time seeing Erika's renovated home, and she loves all the changes. She's like, I have not seen Erika this happy in quite some time. She feels so much lighter, and her house looks gorgeous. Although this storyline has not been the most interesting, Erika tends across the board because Martin Lawrence Ballard did that. That was money well spent. Now, I always get on the girls about their spreads, especially when they have guests over. Erika had a cute little spread. She had some coffee cake and some cookies. So we see Bose arrive, and when I tell you Bose looks so good, giving very much Black Barbie. She was so cute in her pink. Listen, it's just a fact. But a bright pink on brown chocolate skin is gonna always do it every single time, all right? But Bose was giving Barbie doll realness, and I loved it. But anyhow, Bose comes bearing gifts because she's hosting their vacation to Saint Lucia. So she's like, ladies, this is for Saint Lucia. And when I tell y'all, she really went all out, because she had a Telfar bag for each lady, and then she had swimsuits, a bottle of rum, a cover-up. Like, those gift bags are really cute. Now, I know I've said this before, but it bears repeating, because I think that Bose has been a fantastic addition to the show. And that's low-key a flex that Bose is a newbie and she's hosting the cast trip, because I don't think that we see that often. I feel like the OGs and the vets always host the cast trips, and then it takes one of the new girls maybe 2 or 3 seasons to finally host one. The fact that Bose is hosting the cast trip out the gate in her first season, that says a lot. Like I've said, Bose is here to stay. So now Bose throws out some slight shade, and she says, oh yeah, it's gonna be a real fashion show out there, like a real fashion show this time. So they're all like, ooh, and even Bose says, oh, I didn't mean it like that, it just came out. And I said, Bose, it's okay, you threw some shade. It is what it is. Girl, just own it. And today's video is brought to you by Verso. As a content creator with a busy schedule and a jam-packed social calendar, and with a birthday on the horizon, with each passing year, I like to invest in my health. I don't want to just look great, I also want to feel great. Recent scientific findings demonstrate that it is possible to not only slow down the aging process, but actually reverse it. That's why I use Cell Being by Verso. It contains ingredients that turn on longevity pathways in your body to help fight the effects of aging, repairing damaged DNA, improving metabolism, boosting NADs, and more. Now, anybody who knows me knows I love vitamins, I love supplements, anything that's going to make me feel great, look great, I'm game. I've been taking Cellbeing for a few weeks now, and I feel amazing. I feel like I have way more energy, whether that's giving you guys back-to-back recaps in one day with my workouts. I just feel like a more enhanced version of myself. Verso publishes third-party testing from each batch produced to guarantee you are getting what you pay for. If you like what you see and you're interested, click the link below in my description box and head on over to Verso, and make sure to use coupon code Brooke at checkout to save 15% on your first order. So now we see a parallel scene with Miss Sutton Strack at home in Bel Air. And a quick side note, I cackle in the comments because some of y'all get on me for how I pronounce Miss Strack's name. I'm aware that it is Sutton, but it just feels so weird on the tongue to pronounce both T's. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to do my best to not be so lazy with her name because I'm aware that I do say Sutton. But then I think about, I also pronounce button like that. Like I don't say button, I say button. And don't ever say that I can't take criticism because I can, and I'm taking it right now, all right? Because y'all have made it clear, well, a few of y'all, that you want me to pronounce Sutton's name correctly, all right? And not be so lazy with how I say it. So we see Garcelle come over, and now she's like, hey girl, just so you know, all the blogs are saying that Kathy Hilton is fashion roadkill. So we see an excerpt from the Daily Mail, and it says Kathy Hilton crashes her co-star's runway show. And now we cut to Kathy's confessional, and Kathy's laughing. She's like, oh, I can't believe this. She sips her water, and then she says, I have nothing but good intentions. Now, Miss Kathy, I whacked you in the last recap because you tried it. That was purposely done, and nobody will tell me differently. So now Garcelle brings up Dorit, and she's like, by the way, Sutton, did you talk to Dorit last night? So Sutton says, yeah, we did say hello to each other, but let's put both of us on ice right now. So now Garcelle brings up her dinner with Dorit the other night, and she goes on to say that she asked Dorit what's her beef with Sutton because obviously it's not one-sided. Now, personally, the same way I was tired of Kyle and Dorit's beef earlier this season, my patience is wearing thin regarding Dorit versus Sutton. Their beef is just not that interesting for us to be carrying this now for what? The whole season? They've been at each other's throats since episode 6. And quite frankly, I'm over it. And I know it's not just me. So now we flip right back over to Erika, Dorit, and Bose. And Dorit brings up her dinner with Garcelle the other night. And she mentions how Garcelle told her how sensitive Sutton is when it comes to her drinking being mentioned. So now Erika interrupts and she says, Dorit, let me just stop you for a minute because her reaction when you talk about her drinking, I'm sorry, but let's talk about what was done to me. So Erika keeps going on with her sob story and she says that Garcelle and Sutton cut her no breaks when she was at the lowest point in her life. And then she goes on to say that they had no issues talking about her lawsuits, her medication, and her drinking. Now, hold on, Miss Mamas. Let me just whack you quickly. Because what we won't do is compare the two situations. Because let's not forget, the reason why Garcelle questioned you about your medication use and your drinking was because you cursed her minor son out. That is unacceptable. And you're lucky that Garcelle let you off the hook as easily as she did. So you can't compare the two things. Garcelle was well within her rights to question you about, girl, what's tea? Do we have a problem? Because something's going on. Something's not quite right. And it's crazy to me that you just can't let this go. You want to be the victim so bad. And sweetheart, you are not the victim in this. You keep begging for an apology that one, you don't deserve, and two, you're not going to get. So now Erika says, now all of a sudden, Sutton wants sympathy because people have said things about her. And I just said, again, Erika, I don't know why you're playing dense, but you cannot conflate the two things. I was shocked that Erika brought that up. I said, is she serious? So now Erika says that Garcelle continues to defend that behavior And Dorit joins in and says, yeah, I did tell her at dinner that she does have rose-colored glasses when it comes to her friend. Now, Dorit and Erika, what we won't do is act like y'all were not a clique for all those years. Because the Fox Force 5 was a whole entire thing since season 9. You guys made that pact up when you guys were in Provence. Remember that? You, Teddy, Lisa Rinna, Erika, and Dorit. For you to act as if Garcelle always defends that behavior from her friend Sutton, that's not really fair, because for years, the 5 of y'all have defended each other with your piss poor behavior. So it's okay when y'all do it, but let somebody else do it. Now it's an issue. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. So since they're on the topic of Garcelle and Sutton, Bose jumps in and says, I think it's hypocritical for them to say that I'm Dorit's mouthpiece when you're over there key-keying with yours. And now you have Erika saying, yup, you're right. They've been doing it for years now. And I said, but once again, Erika, when they both joined the show, y'all were well established as the Fox Force 5. They were the odd women out. They only had each other. It was them and Crystal. So now Bose brings up the trip and she says, for Saint Lucia, I'm already working on the room assignments. Just so you know, it's the 3 of us together in one villa, and Dorit and Erika are thrilled. And that makes sense because they are really close. They have a really good bond, a friendship, and we know that Kyle and her sister are like that, well, for now. And then we know that Jennifer, Tilly, Garcelle, and Sutton, they're a trio. So when I heard that Bose was going to have Dorit and Erika in her room, it only made sense. And despite all the foolishness, I really do like Bose's friendships with Dorit and Erika. It feels organic, it feels real, it feels authentic. I like their energy together. I like the vibe. I like the chemistry. You can't fake chemistry. So now we flip right back over to Garcelle and Sutton. And Garcelle says, oh, by the way, I asked Dorit if you bought her a Kelly bag, would you guys be best friends? And she said, absolutely. So Sutton is even more annoyed and she's like, oh, I'm sure it would. Now, shout out to y'all. Y'all had me screaming in the comments last week. One of y'all said I would send Dorit a plastic bag with the word Kelly written on it, and that would be her Kelly bag. You don't understand. I had tears streaming down my face.
You know what? It's too much.
Y'all really eat in the comment section. Like, I love talking to y'all because we have a good old time, whether we go live. Well, live is a different animal, honey, because y'all really are in rare form when we do the lives. But in the comment section, y'all kill it every single time. I could not stop laughing. I was in tears for a good 10 minutes. So now Garcelle brings up that her and Dorit spoke about the whole Kyle and Mauricio mess, about what's going on. And now Sutton interjects and brings up how at the fashion show, Dorit and Kyle were acting like they were best friends again. She's like, yeah, they were rolling around on the couch like it was old times. And it's clear that Sutton is bothered by the closeness of Kyle and Dorit. And we're going to talk about that dynamic a little bit later. But all I'm going to say is you need to know where you stand and what category you fall in when it comes to friendships. Because I've said this for several seasons, that Sutton likes Kyle a lot more than Kyle likes Sutton. And that's why Sutton has hurt feelings every single year. But again, we'll talk about that later on. The way Garcelle clocked it immediately, because we get to her confessional and she says, when Kyle and Dorit are on the outs, that means that Sutton is in. It reminds me a lot of Emily from OC trying to be Tamra's best friend, knowing that Tamra will never see it for her. She'll only use Emily to do her dirty work. But Emily is so desperate for that attention and that validation that she'll do whatever it takes. But this whole dynamic with Sutton just wanting Kyle's approval so badly and then feeling hurt when Kyle ditches her for her real best friends is sad to watch. And I'm not trying to get so deep into this thing, but Miss Mamas, I need that self-esteem to improve. Because I'm telling you, a healthy self-esteem, a healthy amount of ego will prevent all of this. I'm just saying. But I'm happy that Garcelle clocked it. So now Garcelle goes right back to talking about how it must be hard to see your ex making out with somebody else. She throws some shade saying, yeah, making out with a child. And then she corrects herself and says, I mean a young adult. Now, again, not too much, because I think Mauricio's new girlfriend is the same age as Morgan. They're both in their late 20s. So now Garcelle brings up the double standards of how they can talk about Mauricio and what he has going on, but nobody can talk about Kyle and Morgan. She says, I just find it to be kind of strange. So now Sutton says that she wants to respect Kyle's privacy, and Garcelle peeps it. She's like, even though Sutton says she's not afraid of Kyle, she definitely is. And I'm like, duh. We all knew that. She's very afraid of Kyle because she wants her approval so badly. So she's not trying to rock the boat or piss Kyle off. And we've heard the rumblings from several former castmates, including Crystal, that Kyle does regard Beverly Hills as her show. So I think that there's also a power dynamic there with Kyle feeling like, girl, you better do as I say because I'm the OG of this show. And yes, Kyle might be the OG of Beverly Hills, but don't ever forget the face of Beverly Hills is LVP still. So now Garcelle's still pressing the issue about how weird it is that they can't talk about Morgan. They can't bring up the concert that she was at. And Garcelle's like, how do we even ask her? And Sutton's like, well, we could just ask her how was her weekend, and then hopefully she'll say what happened. And then she goes on to say, look, I'm not trying to piss off Kyle and make her angry. And there you have it, folks. That is a woman who walks on eggshells with Kyle. And I'm so sorry, but that's just not the kind of friendship that you should strive for. I don't think people understand when you're desperate for anything, romantic love, friendship, an opportunity, people can sense that. And that actually will repel people away from you. I feel like if Sutton were a lot more detached, aloof, she might actually get the friendship that she wants from Kyle. People just don't like desperation. And I'm sorry, Sutton, but it's desperate behavior for you to be this enamored with somebody who doesn't see it for you. I remember how one of y'all said in my recaps, this was years ago during season 11 or 12, but one of y'all said if Sutton ever got the chance to be in the Fox Force 5, she would ditch Garcelle immediately. This scene and the last scene has me feeling like you're correct. So now we jump on over to Kyle and we see her in the kitchen. She's talking to her staff and now we see Bose pull up. Now when I tell you, Bose looked so cute. The outfit gave very much, remember the movie Life Size with Tyra Banks and Lindsay Lohan? Remember that pink outfit that Tyra wore? That's what Bose was wearing, but in black and white. She looked flawless. The Chanel bag, I said, Bose, girl, come through. And did anybody peep the insecure behavior from Kyle? Because Kyle's like, oh my gosh, you're so dressed up and I'm just like this. I only dress up like that when I'm going out to a party. And Bose is like, oh girl, you look so pretty anyway. Like, don't even worry about it. I said, I cannot stand when women do that. Stop fishing for compliments. And on top of that, if somebody's dressed up and you're not, compliment them and keep it pushing. I was always taught when you dress, dress up. It's either drip or drown. Shout out to Gunna and Young Thug. But don't sit up there and act like, oh, you know, you're just so overdressed and here I am in a t-shirt and jeans. That's not Bose's issue. You know that you're filming a show. You know that Bose dresses. So you could have worn something really nice too, but you chose not to. I was so irritated with that. And if you've noticed, that was Kyle's second or third time doing that with Bose. Because remember when they were all leaving out of Kyle's house to go to Garcelle's beach house, and Bose was dressed in that pretty blue dress or purple dress, and you have Kyle saying, oh, you're so dressed up, and here I am. I look so plain, like a baked potato or something. And I said, okay, and that's not Bose's issue. That's your issue. Go into your closet and change then. I don't like all that. Don't bring all that around me. I will tell you, shout out to everybody. I had fun. I don't play that because that reeks of insecurity. It reeks of a little bit of jealousy and envy. You trying to size up what the next woman is wearing, what she has going on. No, focus on yourself. And when you step out your house, make sure that you look good so that way if somebody else is dressed up, you don't feel threatened or you don't feel jealous or weird. I did not mean to go off on a tangent, but that bothered me so much because that's not the first time that Kyle has done that to Bose. So anyhow, they sit down in Kyle's family room and Kyle goes on to ask her housekeeper for some water for her and Bose. So mind you, Kyle's speaking in Spanish and Bose says, oh wow, I had no idea that you spoke Spanish. So Kyle says, yeah, growing up in LA, you kind of have to. And then on top of that, my husband is Mexican. So Bose says, oh wow, I had no idea. So Kyle says, yeah. And then she says, side note, I really appreciate that text that you sent me the other day when those pictures of Mauricio came out. So Bose says, girl, when it comes to me and friendship, I'm the kind of friend where I go to war. So she says, when those pictures came out, I was so tempted to come to your house and check on you. So now we see Bose's confessional, and Bose says that at Dorit's party a few weeks ago, Kyle did mention that she feels like Bose only got to know Dorit and nobody else in the group. So her and Kyle having some time to talk and just open up, that's the perfect way to get to know each other even more. So now the conversation gets emotional because Kyle says that when she first met Bose, that was when Mauricio just moved out the house. So Kyle says that she wasn't ready to leave, and then she says that when Mauricio did come to her and he said, I'm going to move out, she thought that it was strange. So now she goes on to add that she had this idea that they would still live in the house together. She'd be in her room, he'd be in his room, and they would live separate lives, but she knows that that's not realistic. Not going to hold you. It's hard to keep hearing this episode after episode after episode because where was all of this last season when you guys were in the middle of separating? On top of that, we still don't know the exact reasons why you guys decided to go your separate ways. All we've had is speculation. Until Kyle confirms that he was cheating, I just don't know what to think. I'm tired of her talking in circles and riddles about this. I'm tired of the same old sob story about he left and I don't know how to feel. Kyle, you've teased this storyline now for almost 2 seasons and we're all exhausted. Either give us some of the details or keep it on the playground. So now Bose tells her story of her late husband, and she says Peter died when our daughter Layelle was 4. Then she goes on to add that they were separated before he got sick. Now, I remember Bose did tell us this in the first episode. So now Bose shares that she was too afraid to ask for a divorce because she did not want Peter to think that she was the bad guy. So she says that things really took a turn when one day she picked Layelle up from his place and another woman was there. So then she says that when they all found out that his cancer was terminal, she went to the hospital one day and that same woman was there rubbing his head and kissing him. And she says that she lost her mind. She was like, get that bitch out of here. And then Bose adds that she understands how Kyle feels because the pain in seeing somebody that you built your life with move on with somebody else, that's hard. Now, let me just say, I can only imagine how that went down, especially at the hospital. You see your estranged husband with his girlfriend in the hospital room, rubbing on him and kissing on him like she's the wife. So Kyle says that she obviously did not like seeing that picture. And I'm thinking, Kyle, how do you think Mauricio felt when he saw you gallivanting with Morgan for a whole year? Y'all even did that music video together. We saw pictures of you and Morgan plastered everywhere. TMZ, Us Weekly, In Touch Weekly, People Magazine, Page 6, Radar Online. So for you to crumble after seeing one picture of Mauricio, like, what are we doing, Kyle? You had your fun with Morgan, and now he's having his fun with whoever in Greece, and deal with it. Am I being too harsh? Let me know. Like I keep saying, I would have more sympathy if I had some more clarification on what actually led to the demise of their marriage. If Kyle just was straight up about things and said, look, he was cheating the entire marriage. I want to get my lick back. I thought that I'd make him jealous with Morgan. It backfired. So now he's moved on and I'm distraught about it. If she would just come out and say that, I'd have so much respect and understanding. But there's been very little acknowledgement of anything, so it's hard for me to care. So Kyle says that Mauricio feels bad enough as it is, and Bo says, oh, why is that? And Kyle says, because he would never want to hurt me or the girls. Now, Bose was in her therapist bag because she was like, so when are y'all supposed to move on? And Kyle says, well, we're separated. We haven't filed for divorce just yet. But ever since that picture, things have definitely changed. And then she says that she plans on having a conversation with Mauricio. And on top of that, this gives her permission to move forward and do what she needs to do. And I said, Kyle, it's time for you to file for divorce. Enough with putting this off. File first. Mauricio has moved on. He's not coming back. You seem miserable. Go on about your life, please. And Kyle points out that this conversation will be the first conversation that they've had since he's been back from Europe. So Kyle makes a joke and she's like, Bose, do you want to be there for our conversation? And Bose is too funny. She's like, yeah, like I do want to be there. Kyle wears me thin, but this scene with her and Bose was cute. So now we jump on over to Dorit and PK meeting up for dinner. Now, a quick side note. That restaurant that they were at, that's been on my list for quite some time. Drake's West Hollywood. I said, oh yes. I know they have one in Houston too, right? My LA and Houston girls, let me know if you've been. Is it a vibe? Because I feel like it's a whole vibe in there. And the menu looks good too. But anyhow, it's real tense between Dorit and PK. PK does give Dorit a kiss on the cheek. And then he's like, Dorit, how have you been? How are you? How are things? So Dorit's like, you know, I'm all right, but I have to say I was a bit surprised that you kissed me on the cheek. So now PK's like, oh, well, would you want a high five instead? And I'm just thinking, PK, you really have your nerve. The fact that PK is fumbling Dorit, like that is a slap in the face. He really is acting like he can take her or leave her. I said, my God, today. So PK makes a joke saying that he needs a drink, and then he says, oh wait, I don't drink anymore. So Dorit tries to start things off on a friendly note, and she says, I'm pleased to hear that you're doing the work. And now PK says, well, yeah, you're also doing the work too, right? And I'm thinking, already, PK just seems so combative and just rude, like he wanted to fight with her at this dinner. So Dorit says, yeah, I have been working on myself too, and I feel like my eyes are wide open. So PK is confused and he's like, well, what do you mean by that? So Dorit says that in the last few months, something has shifted in PK. So now PK brings up their argument about his apartment, where he's living now. And now he brings up that their biggest issues in their marriage were Dorit's control issues. And I said, okay, so she had control issues, but let's talk about your issues of not being home. Because Dorit told us earlier this season that you weren't home. You'd be on these work trips. Then when you came back, you guys would get into it and you would slam the door and leave for 3 weeks at a time, staying at a hotel down the street. So, sir, not too much about her control issues when you were a horrible husband and father from jump. So PK says that it feels like Dorit was trying to dictate where he was going to live during their separation, and he was not trying to have a conversation about it at all. Now, PK, that is still your wife. You guys have small children. You would think that a conversation would be had about where you're going to live, especially if your kids stay with you. So for you to have all this vitriol and venom for Dorit wanting to know where you might be laying your head for the next several months, I don't feel like that should be a cause for an argument. At the end of the day, I see a man who just wants out of this marriage, and he's being too much of a coward to say that. So Dorit's like, well, obviously we have different views on things, but I do want to ask you about that email that knocked me off my feet. So now you have PK saying, oh, you want to talk about that? Are you sure? You want to talk about only one part of the email when that whole entire email was a summary of how I felt throughout the marriage? And I said, again, PK, let's bring that tone down. Let's take that bass out of our voices, please. I don't know. I was getting more and more annoyed watching this scene because PK clearly came in to just pick at her. And PK is moving in such a cowardly way. Because when Dorit asked him outright, did you at one point want a divorce? You have PK going around and around the mulberry bush to say a whole bunch of nothing. I said, what is this answer? He said something like, well, this is what causes the end of a marriage. And I said, that's not what she asked you. She asked you outright, did you at one point want a divorce? That's a yes or no question. This other answer that he gave was a bunch of BS. And I also wasn't here for how PK said that rather than her bringing out the best of him, she brings out the worst of him. I said, excuse me? So you think that you were husband of the year by never being home? You were an absent husband, but yet you want to say that she brought out the worst in you? It would have been a full-blown argument at that restaurant. That spicy Caesar salad that she ordered would have been right in PK's face. So PK's still talking all this word salad about how she's still his best effing friend, and if they can work their way back to a friendship, then they'll be good. And I said, let's not do this. You clearly are not happy with Dorit. You want out, but you're too much of a coward to say that. And Dorit, when you were in that confessional saying that it's not in your heart to want a divorce and how PK is calling all the shots, I said, Dorit, take your power back right now. This man is showing you in thought, word, and deed that he has checked out. You sound delusional. And I know a few of y'all think that this whole divorce storyline is fake. I don't. I think that PK wants out and Dorit is still in love with this man and she's not ready to call it quits just yet. But I do believe that PK is all the way out of this marriage. And especially with Mauricio, his best friend, being single, he wants that life again. But yeah, this whole scene with Dorit and PK, that was a waste of everybody's time. And Dorit is clinging on to the last bit of hope that she has left. Now we jump on over to Bo's. She's at home preparing for a special dinner with her daughter Lael, and Keely. Don't be upset, but we are going to breeze past this scene because y'all know how I feel. I just think that Bo's needs to slow down and not put all her eggs in the Keely basket. When Lael did ask Keely about the living situation, would they move in together before they get married? Is he going to move to LA? And Keely was like, well, you know, I'd probably pack up here and I'd still keep my house in San Diego. I'm not going to hold you. I had a few alarm bells ringing in my head because I was always taught that a man should not be moving in to a woman's house. It needs to be he has a place for you to go to. So if he is going to move to LA, hopefully it's a brand new home that they've both picked out and that he's paid for. But if his plans are to just pack up and move to her house, Bo's, proceed with caution.
No.
All I have to say is God bless Bo's. I really hope that Keely is a stand-up guy. If you like it, great. And by the way, that food in this scene looked amazing. My mouth was watering. She had pasta, some chicken, vegetables. Like, that was a good spread. Besides that, we can move right on along. So now we jump on over to Kyle. She's at home in the kitchen talking to Portia about her trip. Remember that Portia and Mauricio were in Europe for like a whole month. So anyhow, Mauricio comes over, and you can feel the tension through the screen. So Portia goes upstairs, and now it's just Mauricio and Kyle. Mauricio was so damn nervous. I was like, my God, Mauricio. I thought it was interesting when Kyle said, I don't know what this relationship is. I don't know if it's a passing fling or serious, but I know how women are. And I said, okay, and you know how men are too. You know how Mauricio was throughout your marriage. So they're having some awkward small talk. She's asking Mauricio how the trip was. Mauricio's like, oh yeah, you know, it was good, it was good. A lot of meditation, a lot of spas, a lot of quiet time, and I only partied about 5 days out of the whole 25 days that I was away. So, Mauricio, you did not even sound convincing when you said that. Even Kyle said, now, I find that hard to believe. And you're like, no, I'm serious. Like, I'm for real. I said, sir, you were in Switzerland, Mykonos, Saint Tropez. You were everywhere. And you want us to believe that you were only partying for 5 nights out of the whole 25 days? If you want us to believe that, then I have some beachfront property in Ohio that I can sell you. Because you will not sit up here and lie like this. I said, sir, you are a grown man. Just own it. You were out having a good old time with a whole bunch of women, enjoying yourself. Don't insult me and my intelligence like this. And production is shady for that clip because they show us at Jennifer Tilly's Caviar Caspia party. We see Faye Resnick tell the ladies that Mauricio was trying to invite her husband to go to Saint Tropez with him and PK. So she's like, yeah, Mauricio's trying to recruit my husband into the single life too. This man's trying to have a city boy summer with all the guys. And Kyle, you are a fool if you believe that he only partied for 5 nights. I could not stop laughing because at this point, it's just an awkward silence. You have Mauricio fiddling with his coffee cup. He was stirring that coffee like he never had coffee before. I was like, oh my gosh, this could not get any more uncomfortable. So finally, Mauricio brings up the elephant in the room and he says, well, obviously, I got photographed in the Mykonos airport. I didn't know that was going to happen. I would never try to hurt you or our children. So Kyle accepts the apology and now she's super emotional. She's like, yeah, I know. And when I tell you, Kyle starts crying, and I know I get on Kyle, but I actually felt sorry for her because she was so beaten down. And when she said, I just don't know how we got to this point, everything that we built together, it feels like the rug has been pulled from underneath her. I really did feel for her. I said, damn, that's hard because this has been her husband of almost 30 years. And for it to come down to this, that's sad. But here's my thing though. Kyle, if he was cheating on you during the marriage, you were okay with that? And you know, I don't want to go into this. I understand that cheating is not a deal breaker for everybody, but I feel like if the rumors are true that he was cheating the whole time, Kyle finally putting herself first and walking away from this, that's a win. You guys have heard me tell y'all, I will leave in a minute. Personally, it's an automatic divorce. There's no counseling. There's no talking through it. No, sir.
Oh! Shout out to everybody. I had fun.
I gotta be good.
If she did get tired of the nonsense that he was bringing, can you really feel like the rug was pulled from under you? Right? I mean, if this is what she was dealing with the whole time, then you really can't act like, well, how did we get there? You know how you guys got there. Just my 2 cents. But yeah, this scene was really gut-wrenching when he came around and hugged her and she's just sobbing. That close-up shot of her crying like that, I said, damn, we are really watching their marriage dissolve in real time. And what made it even more heartbreaking was that hug symbolized, this is it. This is the end. The next step is divorce. So now it's the day of the trip. And mind you, the trip from LA to Saint Lucia, they have a layover in Miami. So Bose, Dorit, and Kathy had gotten on an earlier flight. So they were already in Miami waiting for everybody else. And when I tell you Jennifer Tilly is living because her Louis luggage was everything. Then she pulled out a vintage Hermes jewelry case.
Bling, bling, bling. Bitches is mad.
And I scream at how Erika is so infatuated with Jennifer Tilly's wealth. She was drooling over the luggage and that Hermes jewelry case. Erika wants Jennifer Tilly's money so bad. So now we see all the ladies on the same flight going to Saint Lucia, and Bo says that she's excited for this trip. She has a packed schedule. She has dinners, a boat ride, activities. It's gonna be a good time. Now, Bo's, I already know that this trip is going to be one of the best trips in Beverly Hills history. And I remember Erika said on her press run that their Saint Lucia trip was one of the best trips out of all the trips that she's been on the show. And I believe it because Bo's is fun and she has great taste. So the ladies land in Saint Lucia, and when I tell you Saint Lucia is that girl, I went some years ago. Stunning. The hotel I stayed at was everything and then some, 5-star, beautiful. That is a gorgeous island. Check out Saint Lucia. She's really that girl. The beaches are gorgeous. Check her out. The resort that Bo's had them in was phenomenal. We have the staff greeting them with welcome drinks. They show them to their villas. The view, Bo's, stop playing with me. That view was everything. I said, oh my gosh, let me go back to St. Lucia. Bo's did that. I said, Bo's needs to host every single trip going forward. And I love how they had the steel band playing music. They had the happy birthday balloon set up. Because remember, they're going to be celebrating Erika and Dorit's birthdays on the trip. So everybody separates into their villas. And now we see Jennifer Tilly unpacking. And Jennifer Tilly brought some candy with her. And the candy exploded in her suitcase. So she's annoyed and she says, I need my candy. Now I said, what kind of candy was that? Were they now and laters or I don't know what that was. But I said, yeah, girl, if you need candy that bad, call up the concierge and ask them to get you some candy. You can find candy on the island. So now we see Sutton talking about she's been feeling some weird vibes from Dorit. And I said, y'all just got to St. Lucia. Can you guys enjoy the beach, enjoy the weather, enjoy the vibe? Why are we talking about this stale drama between you and Dorit? Can we please let that go for just 5 seconds? And I was even more annoyed when Dorit brought it up to Erika and Bo's. She was like, you know, we haven't talked to each other and I can feel the wrath coming out of her. And I said, Dorit, you guys have not even unpacked your suitcases yet. Can we just put the drama aside for like a few hours? Can we do that? I don't want to talk about my op on vacation. Now, I did laugh when Dorit imitated Sutton because that was funny. So now we jump right back to Jennifer Tilly, Garcelle, and Sutton in their villa. And of course, they're talking about the drama between Sutton and Dorit. So Sutton says, I don't know, it's just that I'm watching the interactions between Kyle and Dorit, and they're acting like best friends. Then she says that the forgiveness factor is so easy for them. So Garcelle jumps in and says, well, it's always been like that between them. So now Jennifer Tilly points out that even though she's new to the group, she has noticed how cliquey this group is, and even she's been intimidated joining in with these girls. So she tells us that when she was younger, she always wanted to be with the cool girls, but she was the weird outcast. She was a hippie who wore secondhand clothes and didn't take a bath that often. And then she's like, well, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And I say, yeah, Jennifer Tilly, you shouldn't have said that, but hopefully now as an adult and a millionaire, your hygiene practices are a lot better. But Jennifer Tilly is right because this group is cliquey. And there was a blind item going around a few weeks ago that Jennifer Tilly has found this show really difficult to navigate. And I'm not surprised. So now Sutton gets emotional and starts crying. She's like, what do you do when you feel like no matter what you do, you can't fix it? Then she says, it's been a long road with these girls, and the only person who truly defends me is Garcelle. So Sutton points out that Kyle never truly has her back. So now we cut to Garcelle's confessional, and she says, that's the $1 million question. Why does Sutton continue to stand up for Kyle when Kyle does not do the same thing for her? And we've all been asking that too. And I think this stems from self-esteem issues because Sutton is chasing somebody who does not care for her. And I'm going to be completely honest with why I think Kyle will never see it for Sutton. Again, what I'm saying is just my opinion. I don't claim to be an expert. I'm not saying that my opinion is the gospel truth. It's just that, my opinion. I don't think that Kyle really likes Sutton all like that as a person. I don't think that she likes her personality. I don't think that she finds Sutton to be that much fun to be around. Little comments that Kyle has made throughout the years. She treats Sutton as a backup option. When her and Dorit are on the outs, or her and Erika, let me call up Sutton. But when they're cool again, okay, Sutton, go back to Garcelle. One more thing. If I'm Garcelle, I'd feel a bit offended because it's like you're chasing after somebody who doesn't care about you, and I'm here being your friend. I really ride for you like that. And if I were Garcelle, I'd be feeling a bit, not worried, but I'd have in the back of my mind a little thing of, if she should ever get the friendship that she wants from Kyle, she'll probably leave me to the wayside. And that's a problem. Again, I'm not saying that that's what Garcelle is thinking or that's what's going to happen. But if I were Garcelle, I would have a little bit of trepidation in my friendship with Miss Sutton Strack, because this need to be chosen by people who don't like you, and here I am being a real friend to you, I'm concerned because you'll easily ditch me if they should ever give you the time of day. Just my 2 cents. But I felt bad for Sutton when she said, I just want them to like me. And I said, girl, you can't force anybody to like you. And one of the most important lessons, and this really might hurt, but it's the truth. And when I heard it, it just reframed my mindset. People have the right to not like you, not want you, not want to be your friend, not want to be in relationship with you. And that might be a bitter pill to swallow, but that is true. And I just need for Sutton to come to grips with the fact that she's wasting valuable energy pining for Kyle when she has real friends right in front of her face, Garcelle and Jennifer Tilly. And why do you even want a friend who's not even there for you? Please dry your tears and pay Kyle dust. Let it be a cute social friendship. You see each other when you're out at parties. You maybe have a cute lunch at the Polo Bar every now and again. And that's what it is. But yeah, I could do a whole separate video on this subject alone. But I'm gonna wrap this up because we've been here long enough. But we do cut to 24 hours later. They're on a boat and Sutton is going at it with Dorit and Erika. And she says, what the F do you guys want from me? And that's where the episode ends. So it looks like the drama continues in Saint Lucia. And I need you guys to wrap this up ASAP because I'm tired of us arguing about the same thing week after week after week. But guys, I enjoyed the episode. I thought that it was a whole lot better than last week, okay? And as you guys can see, I had a lot to say. But again, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. And you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye.